Shows the stream's running. Page retry. Okay. So it looks like the stream is going just fine. What we're going to talk about tonight is what's called a blue team tool, or was presented to me, or I think it was discussed on Twitter a few weeks ago, and I bookmarked it, never got around to actually installing it and using it. As I said in my very first video, there's different areas of cybersecurity. One of those areas is called blue team. That's where you're responsible primarily for detecting and identifying the bad. And then after you've done all that, you go do threat hunting. And threat hunting can be very simple, where you go look into one of the vendor consoles or something and you find something you didn't get an alert on and you just track it back. Or it can be more complicated, where you're trying to develop new alerts that are looking at multiple things. So they're actually real viable alerts. They're based on multiple sets of correlated data. So you have a true alert. The chances are if it fires, it's something bad. But one of the things that's constantly facing blue teams or security operations is, can I see it? Because we don't know what we don't know. And if we don't see it, do we know about it? So one of the things I found intriguing was when on Twitter, they were talking about FLIGHTSIM. And a lot of people, if I say FLIGHTSIM, they're like, what is this, a helicopter game or a jet fighter plane or something? Got a little confused on it. It's by KITPLOIT. This is the browser, the page here. Link to it is in the description. But this is FLIGHTSIM by KITPLOIT, a utility to generate malicious network traffic and evaluate controls. Essentially, it's for blue teams, so you can go and generate some fake traffic on your network and see if your alerting platform, your firewall, your SIM, your IDS, whatever, picks up on all that stuff. I'm really interested in a specific set of tests that FLIGHTSIM does, which if you scroll down to the bottom here, I'm really interested in the C2 DNS testing. I'm interested in the DGA. I'm interested in the DNS hijacking. Basically anything in the DNS and the DNS tunneling. I don't think SMTP is so much successful nowadays. Most companies block that, but smaller ones might not, small homes might not. Depends if you're running on mail. Typically it's not something you're going to see, but if you have a box that gets infectable off network and then comes back in and plugs on, are you going to alert on that? If it's generating traffic even though you're blocking it, would you alert on that? A lot of people assume, hey, we're blocking it, so it's not getting out, so we're going to go ahead and ramp that down to a low priority and don't remember to alert on it. And if you're not real busy, you can go find the low-hanging fruit and clean that out. That being said, again, the article here, the primary article, is linked in the description below. So if you come here, you can read up a little bit about it. The installation, we're going to go to GitHub. I've already gone to GitHub. I want to point something out. So there's the information in the README and the installation and everything. This is a command line tool. It doesn't have a GUI. It's not very complicated. So when you do download it, essentially it's ready to go unless you got to compile. For me, I'm running on a Windows 10 box. I typically run on a VM image. However, I recently upgraded from 12.5 to 15, and for some reason my VM decided it doesn't want to work, so I got to rebuild 3 different VM images. I'll probably do that, and if anyone's interested, maybe I'll do a video on it. They're not very complicated, but they do have some custom configurations on it for networking and everything else, for bridge, going out different wireless instead of LAN, all that good fun stuff. Anyways, so if you click on under installation here, you click on GitHub. We're going to go open up in a new tab. You get the versions. The latest one is 1.1.0, and I went ahead and downloaded, because I'm running this on Windows for my testing. I went ahead and did AMD 64EXE. Linux, I believe Darwin, I'm not sure what that one is. I haven't played with that. I haven't even read on it, so I'm not 100% sure. In this one, it looks like they made some DNS hijack simulator configuration fixes. And I have no idea what option N is. What is option N? Number of hosts generated. Okay, by default, it is 10, and we're going to go over that here as we do the testing. So, I've already magically downloaded the sim, and you can see I use an interesting structure. I like to make sure I'm testing. I'm doing blue team testing tonight, and we're going to go ahead here. I'm already in the directory. So you can see once you download it, this is essentially what it puts out there. You just get a simple exe. If you were to double click on it from a Windows box, say from here, it's going to tell you this is a command line tool. You need to open it and run it from command line. Not a problem. Let's get the white screen out of the way, and we'll just make it a little easier to see here. All right. So from here, we are going to do FLIGHTSIM. Now, if for those, a lot of times I know I get asked a lot, it's just like in Linux and everything else. If you don't know about the tab to complete, when you have an executable or something along those lines or files, and you start typing the beginning of the name of the file and you hit tab, it's the only one that's in there, it'll auto-complete for you. That's what I just did. So we are going to run just the executable. There are some commands that go with it, but we don't know what the executable does from command line. So I have tested this before, so I'm a little bit familiar with it. So if we just run the exe straight up, it's going to tell us essentially what we got from the, where did it go? Over here. The help right here. So what we want to do now, you see there's the help, but we need to do a run. So to figure out what our capabilities are, let's do run and a help. Okay, this is where it starts to get fun. Let's try and make this a little less cluttered. Command lines isn't the easiest to read, so yeah. But let's scroll up a little bit. As you can see, from the run is what tells it we're going to run. If you just want to run by default, I think if you just type run and nothing after it, it will run everything. I'm not going to do that right yet. I want to just do a couple tests, the ones that I'm specifically interested in, but we can test them all. There's not very many. So let's go ahead, and I recommend getting on a VPN if I was you guys. Just so if you're testing and your ISP is monitoring that, they might not flag you. Just an FYI. We're just going to do some basic tests. I'm not going to mess with the number of integers a host. I like the idea of default 10. Maybe in my network environment, if I'm testing in an enterprise level, I would change that so I could do like a consistent, maybe a couple minutes of testing. I have a larger window to go look for. Or maybe I just leave it at 10 because sometimes they're just looking for that little thing. Or if I'm not sure, maybe it's possible to run this at beaconing intervals. I don't know. Maybe that's something that they're looking at down the road. When I first looked at this, I thought that maybe this would be something I would use in conjunction with, say, Nmap and a lot of the features that Nmap lets you do. But Nmap would be a different video. Anyways, let's do our first one here. Let's do the C2, if I could type DNS and see what that does. So you see right here is what I'm testing. These are the commands that are available from FLIGHTSIM, and we're doing a C2. Let's go over here so you can see what that is. So generates a list of current C2 destinations and performs DNS requests to each. So query, essentially. And so you can see here it did, how many did it do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it did do 10. So now what I would do is I would take this timestamp if I was inside my network environment, or I had my sim up and running at home, or my IDS, and I was going to go look. I would go as testing because I want to see if I see this type of traffic. I would go to my alert management or to my sim or whatever it is, and I would look for that timestamp of April 8th at 22:12 and see what I found. See if I saw these specific types of alerts. That would let me know, hey, if I saw them, then that means I'm good. I'm alerting. Or do I need to tune to see them? Or do I need to set up something different? That's the whole idea of this particular tool, is to say, hey, I'm going to generate some malicious traffic. Now let me go see if I can see it or if I alerted on it. And if I didn't, what do I need to do so I would alert on it, and then I could go back and retest. Okay, so next we're going to check out the C2 IP, which connects to 10 random current to C2 IP port pairs to simulate egress situations. All right, so we're just going to remove the DNS, and what is that, IP? Let's see what we get. Well, I didn't see it run 10 IPs, so I'm wondering if that's either broken or if my network is too hardened. There's a brand new router for this lab rail that I got today and stood up, and by default, when I set up a brand new rail, everything is turned off. You can't do anything in the environment. I gradually have to bring everything online. I prefer go with that method instead of having to harden. I just make it that way, and then as I progress, I'll turn stuff off and on. All right, and it's all right. Wasn't too interested in the C2 IP. I will email KITPLOIT to see if that's how it's supposed to work, or if I am going to continue about it. And 1 second, my son needs something. What's up?
A bugs are wild in the bedroom.
They don't listen to us, but I'm trying to make a video right now. So I want you guys to go back in there, watch the cartoon. I'll be in there in about 15 minutes, okay? All right, love you guys. Okay. All right, so now I am back. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so we tested the C2 IP. That didn't work. Really wasn't interested in that one. I will email them again and find out after I get all this done with the notes that I have. So let's go ahead and test DGA. See what DGA does. Okay, so, okay, it's doing net. Is this doing 10 or is it doing 3 sets of 3 10 times? It looks like we're getting sets of 3 10 times. We'll know when it finishes here. If you see cowfugi.net got XYZ and dot space. So should be finishing up. If it does a set of 10, we'll find out here in a second. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, it is 10, so that's good. So what DGA is random labels and top level domains. Okay, so it's similar. Okay, that's fine. How about we go look at hijack? We're just going to run through each one of the commands. This isn't anything fancy. We can dig into it later. That didn't, let's see, what did that say? Starting, resolving alphasoc.com via N1 sandbox, alphasoc XYZ. Success DNS hijacking is possible in this environment. Okay, so I need to go mess with my router some more to make sure it's hard. Anyways, this will be a good test inside your, if you were in an environment to see, can you alert on this, or do you need to make configuration changes from a sustained standpoint to prevent that type of possibility. In my case here, brand new router on this rail, I need to go. I might have turned it up too much getting the live stream working, so I need to go check on that. Okay, so what is next? We want to do a scan. In a scan, it's just going to perform port scan 10 random RFC 1918 addresses using common ports. Okay, that's fine. Let's see what we get. All right, performing scanning, port scanning. I wish it would say what its port. Okay, random using random common ports. It's telling the IPs. So I guess we'll have to go to the an alert management software, IDS, whatever our SIM is, and look to see if it'll tell us what the port numbers are and not just the IP addresses. I wish they would have said inside this what port those. Again, this is where I think Nmap might do a better job, but for an all-one tool just to do some random malicious testing, network traffic, suspect traffic that you want to see if you can see inside your network real quick. This appears so far to do exactly what it says it's doing, which is not too bad. Okay, so we're going to run sync. Sync destinations, okay. Also keep in mind with your test lab, sometimes you do need to open up firewalls. I didn't think I had this one set up too badly. Preparing sample finished. Check your SIM. Don't know what it did. So I guess I'd have to go look in my alert management software, my SIM IDS, whatever it might be, at the timestamp 22/18/25 for today to see whatever I'm seeing around that time. The good thing is, as you do these tests, it does present the timestamp. So if you're running them independently, you've got individual timestamps, so you can time these out. I don't see anywhere in the commands or the instructions to where you could actually schedule them. I guess you could use schedule task or whatever else to kick these off at intervals. So you could do beaconing or reoccurring traffic, but I don't think you can specify. Again, this is just a testing tool, not a super detailed tool from what it looks like. So we just tried sync. I'm not going to do the spam bot one. I am going to do the tunnel check though, as I'm interested in that one. Okay, so it does do sandbox. Okay. Resolving. It's doing that just fine. All done. Check your sim for alerts for timestamps and details above. Okay, so essentially what we're doing is just like they did in the screenshots. It's very straightforward little piece of software. Not fancy. I wish it'd get a little more detail, a little more control, but for the fact that this is free and it's advertised and says generate malicious network traffic to see if you can find it, I think it's doing just that. Now I'm going to run this after I get my VM back up and running or rebuilt to run on 15. That will let me go ahead and run it through my sim to see if I can alert on it or generate some alerts based off on that. So again, I think from a small standpoint for a SOC that's trying to test things out, limited budget, you're trying to see if you can see this malicious software. There's not a lot of fancy stuff in here. I'm really interested in the DNS pieces of it, given that we have some new DNS that we're bringing in, different tweaks that we've been trying. So it'll be interesting to see if I can flood some of this stuff in there over a 5-minute window to see what I can get. And I would do that by using the end, can change it from a, say like a 10 set sample to probably maybe 20, 30, 40. It takes like a minute or more. So I might have to ramp it up to 100. Again, just gonna have to play with it. The main reason of this video is to walk people through what it was and show them some of the basics. Again, it's command line. It's from KITPLOIT. They've got a lot of other tools out there to their name that you can go check out. I've not used a lot of other stuff. This is the first time I've used one of their products. I did check them out first to make sure they were a legitimate company and not something with malware that's going to run amok on my box. Before you test any of this stuff, I highly recommend that you make sure that you know that the software you're testing is valid and could be trusted. Even then, I still run either my deep freeze and or on a VM image, just because, not because I'm paranoid, it's just after 13, 14 years in security, you get a little paranoid, and it's just something you're going to do on the habit. Anyways, I appreciate everyone's taking the time to watch this video. If you watched it, if you have any questions, please let me know. Again, a link to the KITPLOIT FLIGHTSIM is in the description below. If you have questions, let me know. I will do probably an Nmap in another video to discuss some of the stuff in here to show the differences in what you can get out of scanning or some other tools. I like using Parrot. It's a Linux build. It's similar to Kali, but it comes preloaded with a lot of testing like red team applications. But I prefer to use those from a blue team standpoint. My current role with where I'm at is I do more blue team activity and deep forensic analysis and not so much vulnerability and red teaming. But am I responsible for working with some of those to make sure that we can see it when we do have someone doing pen testing, or if we have an external scan that's crossing the boundaries or lateral movement, insider threat, all that stuff. That's one of the things I'm responsible for. So I'm always looking at ways how to do quick tests to see if I can see it, because again, you don't know what you don't know, and if you can't see it, you can't alert on it. If you can't alert on it, then you have no idea. And I'm also going to quantify that there is no such thing as a 100% secure network. No matter what you do, you're always going to have some sort of risk. You're going to have something in there that can get in and out. One of the coolest things, one of the programs I love the most, and I'm not plugging them because I'm paid for it, is if you're really wanting to add into security, please go check out sans.org. They have some great programs. It's a little more expensive, but I guarantee that if you have got questions and you go a couple through their programs, you'll come out all the better for it. The DFIR community on Twitter is also fantastic. I follow a lot of blogs and a lot of different things, but I find if you want to get a heartbeat or a rhythm for the day on what's trending or what's happening, then go out to Twitter, follow a bunch of the InfoSec guys out there or the blue team guys or whatever they might be, and you're for the area that you're in or the areas that you're interested in, and you can get a pretty good idea of what's going on. I'll try and post to my blog and then a link in there with all the security guys that I follow. Some of them are great, some of them are a little different. Just depends what you're interested in. Anyways, thank you very much for watching this. If you have any questions, suggestions, or recommendations, please let me know and leave a comment below. And again, thank you for your time, and y'all have a great night.